Okay, so, boss,
Yeah.
I've been working tirelessly, really, on my professional development strategy for, Q3. My plan is to, well, reach for the stars to get that promotion. I really believe I'll soon be climbing the rungs of success. But I'm a little worried, I guess, that if I try to become the top dog too quickly, I might, end up putting all my eggs in one basket and find myself in hot water. So, what do you think of my aggressive timeline and my commitment?
Okay, stop. Just stop right there.
What's wrong? I thought that sounded pretty good. I sounded ambitious, right? A driven professional with clear goals.
Oh, you sounded ambitious for sure, but you also created this incredibly strange, almost chaotic mental image.
Chaotic.
Well, you mixed strategic ascent, which is climbing rungs, with this massive, almost impossible aspiration, which is reaching for stars,
Okay.
and then you capped it all off with a huge risk involving fragile eggs and, of all things, boiling water. So it's an idiom salad.
An idiom salad. Oh no.
The words are all correct individually, but when you throw them all together like that, they completely cancel out the professional tone you were aiming for. And this brings up a really good point. To you, listening right now, have you ever done this? Have you ever tried to use some sophisticated business phrase you just learned, maybe that morning, and then in the middle of a big meeting you realize your attempt to sound fluent just made you sound, well, utterly confused?
Ugh, yes. That exact
You
moment.
know, that feeling when the literal meaning just crashes head on into the figurative one?
I know that feeling intimately. It's the moment your brain just freezes and you realize you've completely lost the thread of the professional conversation. You're just lost.
That is precisely the gap we're here to bridge today. Welcome back to English Unlimited Podcast, the place where we ditch the formal textbook and we do a deep dive into the authentic language you actually need to build real professional confidence.
And we try to make the whole learning process approachable and, fun. I'm Jamie, your fellow language learner, here to navigate all the chaos with you.
And I'm Charlie, ready to guide you through the minefield of corporate jargon and some pretty complex professional etiquette. We're here to give you the cultural passwords that unlock that next level of fluency.
Okay, but before we unlock anything, and definitely before we fix the absolute mess I just made, we need to ask you for a quick favor. It really helps us out. Please hit like and subscribe to English Unlimited Podcast right now. We put a ton of effort into distilling all this complex info for you, and your subscription truly is the best investment you can make in accelerating your English mastery. Okay, let's do this. Let's get down to business. Why did my grand statement sound so messy?
Well, the problem was a really fundamental misunderstanding of how business idioms are supposed to function. Business English, as the Tampa Language Center points out, is just filled with these colorful expressions.
It really is.
But their function is all about subtlety. It's about nuance. When you combine 5 separate, very abstract metaphors into a single declarative sentence, the brain just doesn't know what to do. It tries to process the visual image, and the actual message gets completely lost.
So my message was buried under a pile of weird pictures.
Exactly. Idioms are shortcuts. You know, they let us communicate efficiently, very rapidly. But you have to use them one at a time and in the right context.
But I try so hard to sound proper. I study these long, formal phrases. I focus on complicated grammar. I even try to avoid idioms sometimes because I worry they're too informal. But then when I speak, I realize I sound so stiff. I sound like a textbook robot reading a memo, not like a real colleague having a conversation.
And that's the classic dilemma, isn't it? Especially for advanced learners. Using only that super formal, non-idiomatic phrasing shows, yeah, you have competence in grammar. You know the rules.
Right. I sound technically correct.
But it often lacks that cultural fluency. It's missing the life of the language. The goal of learning these terms isn't just about being correct. It's about building communication confidence. It's about strengthening relationships with your colleagues by signaling that you get it. You understand the unwritten rules of the industry.
It's like a secret code.
It sort of is. Idioms act as a professional and a cultural checkpoint. They signal to your colleagues that you are, and this is an idiom itself, up to speed with the dynamics of the industry.
Okay, up to speed. I like that.
Think about it. If the whole team in a meeting says, okay, let's cut to the chase and figure out the ballpark figure for this, and you have to pause and mentally translate those concepts,
Oh, I fall behind immediately.
you might unintentionally seem less engaged or maybe even slower than your colleagues, even if your technical skills are way better.
Yeah.
It disrupts that flow.
It breaks the rhythm of the conversation.
The very efficient, rapid communication flow that the American workplace in particular values so highly.
So it's not enough to be competent. I need to sound like a culturally fluent, rapid-fire professional. I need the language of efficiency.
Exactly. And to get that efficiency, we have to understand the cultural context that all of this communication is built on, especially in the American workplace. Professional success isn't just about delivering results, you know.
What else is there?
It's a perfect blend of competence and great interpersonal skills. So let's quickly review the key etiquette points that frame every business conversation you have.
Okay, lay them on me. I'm ready for the unwritten rulebook.
All right, let's start with something that happens before you even say a word. Punctuality.
Being on time.
More than just on time. It's highly, highly valued because in the U.S. especially, time is implicitly linked to capital, to efficiency. Time is money. So arriving early, and I mean even just 5 minutes early, it doesn't just show respect for the meeting time. It demonstrates a deep level of professionalism and, maybe more importantly, dependability.
So being late isn't just rude, it's like a signal that you're unreliable.
It is. If you're consistently late, you're signaling one of two things. Either you're disorganized or you think your time is more valuable than everyone else's.
Neither of which is a good look.
Not at all. Being early gives you a moment to settle, to review your notes, to start the meeting aligned. It speaks volumes about your commitment.
That makes perfect sense. It's less about the clock and more about respect for shared resources, like the team's time.
Precisely. Next up is how we actually structure our dialogue. Direct communication.
This one can be tricky.
It can be. Unlike some cultures that really favor indirect, soft language, Americans in business generally appreciate it when you express your thoughts openly, clearly, and concisely.
So, less beating around the bush.
Way less. When you give feedback, ask a question, or share an idea, you should be straightforward. This directness is so valued because it speeds up decision-making. No one has time to decode hidden meanings.
So you can be direct without being rude.
Absolutely. Politeness doesn't mean being vague. It means stating your perspective clearly and confidently, but with respect.
So I should avoid those long, rambling introductions and endless preambles.
Yes. We need to cut to the chase, as they say, and we'll get to that idiom very soon.
Okay, great.
And finally, let's address hierarchy. This is another big one. While American workplaces are often more informal than, say, many in Europe or Asia, respect for the organizational structure is still very important.
So how informal is too informal?
Well, it's common to start using first names very quickly, even with your supervisors. But the safe, proper etiquette rule, especially when you first meet someone senior, is to start with titles.
Mr., Mrs., or Mrs., followed by their last name.
Exactly. You use that until they explicitly invite you to use their first name.
Until they say, please call me Janie.
That's the signal. And if you're ever unsure, it's perfectly fine to just politely ask, how would you prefer to be addressed?
Oh, that's a good tip. It's simple and respectful.
It shows professional courtesy and saves you from a potentially awkward moment down the road. Navigating all these rules, the visible and the invisible ones, is really what distinguishes a proficient speaker from a powerful communicator.
The difficulty is it's immense. It feels like a secret language where the textbook answers just make you sound like you're reading out loud, and the cultural rules are totally hidden until you accidentally break one. I need the upgrade. I really need specific, safe, and effective power phrases so I can communicate with confidence and not worry about, falling into a pot of boiling water.
Then let's move into our core lesson. We call it the upgrade game. This is where we focus on strategic application. I'm going to present you with a professional situation. And I want you to try to use a phrase that's, let's say, grammatically correct but culturally inadequate. Maybe it's too formal or too aggressive.
Okay, I like that. So not just a wrong answer, but a bad fit answer.
Exactly. Then we'll provide the proper professional power phrase, and we'll discuss the strategic why, when and where you should use it for maximum impact.
I love this. Focusing on cultural inadequacy instead of just ignorance. Okay, game on. I'm ready to start sounding like I run the room.
Excellent. Let's start with one of the most common topics in any professional setting, career progression. So, situation one, you're drafting an internal email or maybe a self-assessment for your annual review. You want to describe your steady strategic ascent through the company hierarchy. You want to emphasize that you're moving successfully through various levels of authority and seniority, acknowledging the company's structure. What's a common, but maybe a little stiff phrase you might use?
Okay. I might say something like, I am actively seeking advancement through the corporate administrative structure, demonstrating merit at each level.
Oof, okay. I mean, that is perfectly clear.
Well, I think of formal.
It sounds like it came directly from the Human Resources Manual. It just lacks any dynamism. It
Yeah.
doesn't inspire a manager to think of you for the next big opportunity.
It sounds passive.
It's too passive and analytical. We need phrases that project forward momentum,
Right.
energy.
Okay, so what are the power phrases? What signals that smooth strategic movement?
We have two really excellent options here that speak to different aspects of structured success. Power phrase one is moving up the echelons.
Echelons. That sounds very official.
It is. The term echelons implies climbing through very distinct levels of authority or seniority within a system. It highlights that strategic advancement and progression as you navigate the ranks.
So when would I use that specific one?
The strategic why here is that it emphasizes structure. You should use this phrase when you're reporting to senior management because it confirms that you respect and understand the company's organizational chart.
Got it. It's about respecting the hierarchy. What's the other one?
Paraphrase two is climbing the rungs of success.
Oh, that one's more visual. I can picture a ladder.
It is a very powerful visual. It conveys the idea of advancing towards success step by step, just like climbing a ladder. It suggests a gradual, very intentional progression toward achieving your long-term goals.
So what's the strategic why for that one?
Its emphasis is on effort and intentionality. It's a great phrase to use when you're discussing your professional development plans or maybe when you're mentoring junior employees. It's more personal.
Okay, I see the nuance now. Echelons is formal and structural. Rungs is intentional and effort-based. I definitely need both in my vocabulary.
Let's move to a situation that involves aspiration. This is where you're talking about huge, maybe even risky goals. Situation two, you are pitching a brand new product concept to the leadership team. The goals you're proposing are incredibly ambitious. We're talking lofty targets that might even seem challenging, like trying to completely disrupt an established, mature industry. How do you summarize that massive ambition?
Okay, I think I'd say our team is attempting to achieve the highest possible results, regardless of how difficult the challenge may be.
It's true, but it's a little weak, isn't it?
I thought it sounded determined.
It uses 10 words when you only need 3. It sounds a bit like you're defending the goal, not presenting it with confidence. When you're talking about vision, you need concise, confident language.
Okay, so what's the power phrase?
The power phrase is reaching for the stars.
Ah, of course. Simple, powerful.
It's universally understood to mean the ambitious pursuit of lofty goals, dreams, or aspirations that might seem challenging or even unattainable. It signifies aiming for the absolute highest possible level of success.
And the strategic why.
It signals high risk, high reward thinking. It shows you aren't content with just small incremental growth.
Yeah.
You're a visionary.
I like that. It immediately projects that kind of visionary thinking, which is exactly what leadership wants to hear during a big pitch.
Let's try to integrate these. And we'll also include another great phrase, making strides in your career. This is a powerful way to highlight that you're making significant and positive development.
Okay, I'll be the employee during a Q2 check-in meeting.
And I'll be the manager. Let's talk about the new business development efforts. So, your quarterly report shows some really exceptional early outcomes. You are consistently making strides in your career, which is fantastic to see. How do you see these early successes fitting into your overall long-term trajectory here.
Thank you. Well, my long-term goal is certainly to continue moving up the echelons of the company. I recognize that I need to keep climbing the rungs of success one step at a time. And as for our new target market, I know the projections might seem tough, but I always believe in reaching for the stars when setting my quarterly goals. We need to disrupt the sector, not just adapt to it.
See, that confirms both your commitment and your strategic vision. You use these powerful phrases to convey not just what you're doing, but how you view your professional journey. That's real fluency. Now let's shift our focus to efficiency and alignment. Remember that cultural point from earlier? Time is capital, so ambiguity is expensive.
Right. Clarity is key.
Situation 3. You are leading a meeting, and the discussion has drifted into completely irrelevant details. People are talking about the weather, last night's sports game, maybe some internal office gossip. You need to start wasting time and start working on the important agenda-driven issues immediately. How do you professionally but firmly redirect the group?
I might say we must now cease discussion of extraneous matters and pivot to the contracted issues.
Wow. Okay, again, technically perfect
Yeah.
and also very robotic.
It sounds like I'm scolding them, doesn't it?
It does, and sounds like you're scolding them, and you used a really clunky verb like cease. You need high-velocity language that signals respect for time, but also authority.
So what are my options?
Power phrase 1, get down to business.
Simple. I like it.
It just means starting work on the important matters right away. It's an immediate signal that the informal part of the conversation is over. The strategic why is that it's universally understood and it's not confrontational. It's just a clean, clear transition.
Okay, what's the second one?
Power phrase 2, cut to the chase.
Another classic.
It means getting directly to the essential point without any delay or unnecessary preamble. The strategic why for this one is its use in clarifying communication, especially when someone is giving a really long, confusing explanation. You can gently interject, can we just cut to the chase? What's the core proposal here?
Oh, that's useful. So you can combine them for a powerful opening. Something like, okay, everyone, we're running a little short on time. Let's cut to the chase and get down to business. That feels both assertive and efficient.
It does. It shows leadership.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about alignment. This is absolutely critical for any project success. Situation 4. We are starting a large multi-team project. You need to ensure every single participant has reviewed the current briefing documents, understands the project scope, and agrees on the definition of success before any resources are committed. What's your goal phrase to ensure this alignment?
I would say, I need confirmation that all participants have reviewed the necessary data and are in total philosophical agreement regarding the objectives.
That sounds like a philosophy class, not a project kickoff. It's way too intellectual and way too long.
I see your point.
We need 2 simple, very common phrases that confirm informational parity and cognitive alignment.
Okay, what are they?
Power phrase 1, get up to speed.
We mentioned this one earlier.
We did. It means learning what you need to know about something quickly, to be fully familiar with the current information, data, or procedures. The strategic why here is that it's used to mitigate risk. If someone isn't up to speed, they are a liability to the project timeline.
Makes sense. And the second one?
Power phrase 2, on the same page.
Right. Everyone understands things the same way.
Exactly. It means having a shared, common understanding with others. It confirms that cognitive alignment, that you interpret the data and the goals in the same way. The strategic why here is all about teamwork. Disagreements about goals often lead to very expensive mistakes down the line.
I can immediately see the value of using these two together. If you aren't up to speed, you absolutely risk not being on the same page.
Exactly. And to provide some contrast, you also need to understand the negative alternatives.
Okay.
If someone is in the dark, they're uninformed. And often, they've been intentionally left out of a decision or conversation.
That's a bad place to be.
And if a project is on the back burner, it means it's been classified as a low priority or maybe temporarily paused. Understanding these negative idioms is just as important as using the positive ones.
Let's try a dialogue for a project kickoff. We can use the positive phrases and reference the negative consequences.
I'm ready. Let's say we're kicking off the Q3 digital integration project.
Okay, before we start assigning tasks, I need to make absolutely sure the entire team has had a chance to get up to speed on the latest regulatory changes. Are we all fully on the same page regarding the new deployment timeline?
We should be. We absolutely cannot afford to have anyone in the dark about the new security protocols. If we face another security issue, this entire integration will be put on the back burner for 6 months, and we will lose our window of opportunity.
Wow. Notice how quickly and clearly that exchange identified the risks and ensured alignment? That's professional efficiency.
Now for our third segment. This one focuses on finance and operational efficiency. In business, numbers drive every decision, but often speed is more important than absolute precision.
Right, sometimes you just need a quick idea of the numbers.
Situation 5. You're in a strategic planning session. You need a general approximate number for potential client revenue to start planning resources. You don't need the precise final contract total just yet. You just need a rough estimate to start modeling. How do you ask for that fast estimate?
I will request a preliminary calculated estimate based on current projections provided within an acceptable margin of error.
That is fantastic business jargon. You sound like you're addressing a government committee.
But not what you'd say in a fast-paced meeting.
Not at all. If you use that much language for a simple estimate, you lose all momentum. This is one of the most frequently used phrases in quick office discussions.
And it is.
The power phrase is ballpark figure.
A ballpark figure, of course.
It just means an approximate number or a rough estimate. The metaphor comes from estimating the distance to a baseball field's ballpark.
Oh.
The strategic why here is all about speed and context. If you're having a quick hallway conversation with the CFO, you ask for a ballpark figure. But if you're presenting to the board of directors, you use precise numbers. Knowing when to use the ballpark figure signals that you respect the context, quick, high-level planning.
That distinction is so key. Hallway versus boardroom, that helps me a lot.
Good. Now let's move on to the fundamental state of a company's financial health. This requires understanding some accounting terms that are presented idiomatically. Situation 6. You're reporting on the company's financial results. You need a phrase to say you're running out of money or operating at a loss. Conversely, you need a phrase to announce that you are currently profitable. What are the opposing power phrases? They're famously derived from historical accounting ink colors.
Okay, I'll try to be direct. We are currently operating at a net deficit, and we are currently operating with a net positive balance.
Getting closer, but still a bit too formal. We use color imagery, which is far more dynamic and instantly recognizable in the world of finance.
Red and black ink.
Exactly. Power phrase 1, loss, is in the red.
In the red.
It means operating at a loss or being in debt. Historically, red ink was used in ledgers to mark losses, so seeing that color immediately signaled financial distress. The strategic why is its emotional weight. Saying, we are in the red, creates a real sense of urgency and a necessity for action.
And the other one.
Power phrase 2, profit, is in the black.
So we want to be in the black.
Always. It means making a profit, you're solvent. The black ink was used for positive entries. The strategic why here is its instant communication of stability and success. Management always wants to stay in the black.
I feel like a real accounting professional now. That's so much more dynamic than just saying loss or profit.
Let's try to integrate these, along with a few more advanced financial concepts we have to discuss the bottom line.
And the most important result, right?
The final, most important point or result, typically referring to the net profit. And we must also discuss burn rate.
This one sounds a little more complex.
It is, and it's key for advanced learners. Burn rate refers to the rate at which a company, especially a startup or one in aggressive growth mode, is spending its available cash. It's usually measured monthly.
Okay, so how fast the money is disappearing?
Pretty much. And understanding this is key because it directly dictates a company's runway.
Runway.
The amount of time before the company runs out of cash, that's when it's forced to find new funding or shut down. These are critical concepts when you're discussing profitability.
That contextual definition is vital. Okay, let's try a strategic dialogue.
Okay. Our current projections show that due to our expansion costs, we'll be dangerously in the red by the end of Q4 if we continue at this velocity.
Our burn rate is clearly too high then. What's the ballpark figure for how long our runaway is if we don't adjust our spending?
Off the top of my head, I'd say we're looking at maybe 7 months. The bottom line is we must immediately pivot our strategy and figure out how to get back in the black next quarter, or the investment committee will pull the plug.
That was a truly deep dive into strategic financial language. I feel like I'm already speaking with the clarity and authority of a seasoned executive, all because of these precise, high-impact phrases.
And that's the power of the upgrade. However, professional communication isn't just about using the right idioms to discuss business. It's also about navigating the professional culture, especially when topics turn sensitive or challenging. And that brings us to the danger zone.
Okay, the danger zone. I'm assuming this means topics where I might accidentally offend someone or cross some kind of personal or cultural boundary.
Precisely. We need to talk about a critical cultural trap, one that's particularly prevalent in the US and UK professional environments. It's the massive taboo surrounding salary and personal income.
It is genuinely shocking how secretive it is. I know in some parts of the world, tax returns are semi-public and discussing wages is just normal. But here, asking about pay feels like an invasive interrogation.
You're right. In many English-speaking workplaces, salary and income are considered very private matters. Asking a colleague, "So how much do you make?" is highly unusual, and yes, it can be seen as aggressively crossing boundaries. While there are bigger conversations happening now about pay equity, the immediate interpersonal interaction still defaults to privacy.
So why is it such a danger zone to ask this, even if you're just genuinely curious about the market rates for a job?
There are a few reasons, and they're all rooted in professional stability and personal privacy. First, individuals just have a right to keep their financial life confidential.
Simple enough.
Second, there are often negative social repercussions. Sharing your income information can lead to these awkward power shifts in peer relationships. Or worse, it can lead to pressure from external forces, even newsy family members or friends asking for loans, which people actively try to avoid. It creates an unnecessary stress point.
It complicates what should be a collegial professional relationship.
Exactly. So if someone asks you directly, how do you professionally deflect that question without being rude or aggressive? You can't just walk away.
Right, you have to say something.
Absolutely not.
Right.
Professionalism requires a polite, non-confrontational deflection strategy that maintains your rapport with the other person. You need a set of responses that close the door firmly but gently.
Okay, what are they?
First, you have the humor evasive strategy. This works best in a casual setting or with a friendly colleague. If someone asks casually, you can deflect with a warm tone and say something like, "It pays the bills." Barely. Or, "I earn enough to pay my bills and survive."
Ah, I like that. It's casual, it implies you're comfortable, but it definitely avoids giving a number.
"It pays the bills" is perfect. It acknowledges their question without actually satisfying their curiosity.
What if they're more persistent?
For a more definitive and powerful close, we move to the confidence stopper. This is for someone who is being persistent or for someone you don't know very well.
Yeah.
You state your boundary very clearly. "I don't discuss my finances," or even more simply, "That's personal information."
That's very direct.
The key here is your delivery. You have to say it calmly, confidently, and make direct eye contact. Then, you immediately pivot the conversation back to a work topic or the meeting agenda. A professional person will accept that immediately and move on.
That's empowering. It really puts the control back into my hands.
Now let's talk about a different kind of difficult conversation. Expressing professional challenges or disagreement without placing blame. This is essential for diplomatic communication.
Oh, this is where I really struggle. When I'm overwhelmed, my natural instinct is to be accusatory. I want to say things like, "Your deadlines are impossible," or "This project plan is completely flawed."
That is the natural instinct for many people. But it's so counterproductive because it instantly puts the other person on the defensive. Professional etiquette requires you to use I statements to focus on your personal perspective, your feelings, and your capacity, rather than making an accusatory judgment about the other person's work or decisions.
So it's not about them, it's about me.
The goal must always be solution-oriented and collaborative. So instead of criticizing the assignment, you focus on your capacity to execute it successfully.
I see. Okay.
Let's look at a three-part model for effective I statements when you need to push back on your workload. Instead of saying, "You gave me too much work," try this. Part 1. The feeling and observation. You start by acknowledging your current state. I feel like I'm spread too thin right now with 5 major projects running simultaneously.
I'm spread too thin. That's a great idiom for having too many responsibilities.
It is. Then, part 2, the concern. You express the negative impact this situation will have on the shared goal. I'm concerned I cannot give each project my full, high-quality attention, which risks the overall timeline.
So you're connecting your feeling to a business risk.
Precisely. And finally, part 3, the collaborative request. You end with a solution or a request for partnership. I appreciate your willingness to work through this with me. Could we prioritize the top 3 projects? Or maybe look at reallocating some tasks to a different team member?
That structure is fantastic. It completely reframes the issue. It becomes about mitigating risk and prioritizing quality control, not a personal complaint against my manager. It forces the conversation toward finding a solution rather than just assigning blame.
And that's the definition of professional diplomatic language. Whether you're dealing with a coworker or a high-stakes client, the core principles apply. Use clear, respectful, non-accusatory language, focus on shared goals, and always suggest a solution to move forward.
The ultimate lesson of the danger zone seems clear. Be direct and clear, like the American workplace values, but be diplomatic, collaborative, and focus on the solution when problems or boundaries come up.
That is the mastery we're aiming for.
You have successfully navigated the idiom landscape, survived the financial jargon, and handled the danger zone. Let's do a rapid-fire recap of the most important takeaways and phrases from this deep dive. Are you ready?
I am. I'm focused, and I am totally up to speed.
Okay. The term for strategic, intentional, step-by-step career progression.
That would be climbing the rungs of success.
When you need a quick approximation for budget planning, not the precise final number.
You need a ballpark figure.
When you finish the small talk and you need to transition directly to the main agenda.
You cut to the chase and you get down to business.
The essential financial term for a company that is making a profit.
They are operating in the black.
And if you're expressing disappointment about your heavy workload, you should use an I statement, starting with the phrase,
I feel like I'm spread too thin.
outstanding. You are genuinely making strides in your career just by absorbing these cultural nuances. All right, now for our final challenge. We want to dare you, the listener, to apply this new knowledge immediately. That's how you internalize it. Today's challenge is this. Use the phrase, climbing the rungs of success, in a meaningful way today. Maybe it's in a self-reflection email to yourself, a journal entry, or even if you're feeling bold, in a text message to a mentor. Just use it to solidify your new professional vocabulary.
That's a fantastic challenge. And finally, a thought for you to mull over as you work toward achieving this elusive professional mastery and work-life balance. Remember that success requires very clear priorities. The famous author Nora Roberts once said, "The key to successful work-life balance is to not be afraid to fail at it. You will drop the ball on something. The trick is knowing which balls are made of rubber and which are made of glass."
That is a profound perspective. It connects right back to our themes of efficiency and prioritization, doesn't it? We only have so much capacity.
Exactly. You have to identify your glass balls. Your health, your family, your integrity, those are the things that shatter if you drop them. The rubber balls are often the professional tasks. If you drop a rubber ball, it generally bounces back, allowing you to reprioritize. Think about what your glass balls are and structure your professional communications and your time accordingly. That is true professional mastery. The best investment you can make is always in yourself, especially in your ability to communicate effectively. Hit subscribe to English Unlimited podcast for more deep dives into professional communication and cultural fluency.
Thank you so much for the upgrade. See you next time, everyone.
We'll catch you on the next deep dive.